breaking news, Pierre Poilievre gets his CSIS security clearance and is able to find out what is going on with foreign interference within the Conservative Party and the Conservative leadership races. Psych! No, he didn't, but they're giving him the information anyway. Imagine that. Them giving a hard time, and they're still, even today, December 9th, they're giving Pierre Poilievre a hard time in question period about not getting security clearance. And CSIS says, we're going to give it to him anyways. Imagine how that works. And again, we knew what the cat and mouse game was. Well, you better get your security clearance there, Pierre, because you care about Canada's democracy. And Pierre's like, I don't give a crap what you have to say. All I know is you're using this as a mechanism to muzzle me and get me to shut up and not question you about what's going on with foreign interference in this country. So that's been the battle over this past several months over this issue. And finally, CSIS was like, all right, you need to know about this, we're going to give it to you. They're saying they are going to disclose some information, just kind of a need-to-know basis as a safety measure, they're saying. CSIS told CBC News on Saturday that it's determined the disclosure of some information to the leader of the official opposition through a threat reduction measure is appropriate, they say. Classified information is typically shared only with people who have proper security clearance and a relevant need-to-know, CSIS said in a statement. But under a threat reduction measure, certain information can be disclosed to reduce threat, and plans are being finalized to convey the information to Poilievre, the agency said. In October, PM Trudeau said he asked intelligence services to find a way to brief Poilievre about foreign interference allegations involving his party and possibly share some names with the Conservative leader. It would be easier if he got a security clearance, but I've asked them to give him some information nonetheless, Trudeau said at the time. Poilievre has so far refused to go through the screening process to obtain, we know all about that. And we kind of jump down here. In June, an intelligence watchdog body made up of MPs and senators who are sworn to secrecy, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, released unclassified version of a report it put together on foreign interference in Canada's elections. That report, based on intelligence parliamentarians, were able to see and hear said foreign actors from India and the People's Republic of China allegedly interfered in more than one race for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. Most of the details were redacted from the report for national security reasons. Radio Canada reported on Monday, based on confidential sources, that agents of the Indian government allegedly interfered with Patrick Brown's 2022 run for leadership of the Conservative Party. So there you have it. When it's a need-to-know basis and it's actually important, they'll give you the information if you're a party leader. And I get a feeling that's kind of the game Poilievre was anticipating to play, because he's a very well-learned man, knows his stuff, knows how the game works, and I think this was his plan all along. He's like, if I really need to know, they'll tell me. I don't need to get a security clearance that will bind me from being able to question and hold the government accountable on these issues. And that's beside the point. Because right now, we have the issue right now. The communist government of China and India have been actively interfering in the Conservative leadership race. They've been interfering in our elections, our general elections. They've been very much interfering, because Liberals have let them in the Liberal party's politics and their leadership races, because they let non-citizens vote in their leadership races. We came to find out this year. We have foreign interference up the wazoo in this country, and we need to get down to the bottom of it. We have China and India who are actively trying to meddle in our election processes here in this country, whether it be within the party or general elections. Why? What stake do they have in our elections? Well, we know that China really loves Canada because they love Trudeau, because Trudeau is very friendly to China. Trudeau has not really taken a tough stance on China at any point, and he knows that China's got his back. And we know that several MPs in the Liberal Party are have been working with the Chinese government in various roles, or have allowed for interference from China in some of our major institutions within the parties and within our government. I imagine China has been getting involved, mainly because they know the Conservative Party is more likely to hold a hostile view of China and make life harder on them. So they want to make sure conservative representation that gets in is a little bit more friendly to China. They're essentially trying to rig the system, I imagine. And then we flip over what's going on with India. We all know that India had Hardeep Singh Nijjar assassinated in Surrey, BC of June of last year, who was a leader, a Sikh separatist group called Khalistan Tiger Force, which they deemed the leader of this group to be a terrorist. And we've known that Canada's been very friendly to terrorists in this country. We house and allow the IRGC to operate here in Canada. We have allowed the Khalistan group to operate here in Canada. We've allowed activists and sentimentality for the groups like Hamas and Hezbollah to operate here in Canada. So if we have a government that is friendly to agitators and enemies of some of our allies, what do you think some of those countries are going to do? They're going to start meddling in our politics. Thus, why they assassinated the leader of this group, a group that has been very hostile in India, so much so that India had to cast out anybody and take care of anyone and arrest anybody who was a part of the Khalistani group or who wanted to form Khalistan within India. It's a very hostile group, and now they've started to grow base here in Canada. And they've been growing base here since the 80s, and they've only flourished and grown more underneath the government over the past 9 years. And unfortunately, Khalistan has friendlies in both parties, Patrick Brown being one of them. I imagine India was meddling in the Conservative leadership race to make sure Patrick Brown didn't win. They're not huge fans of him, only because he continues to pass legislation as a mayor of Brampton that has allowed for the Khalistan group to harass and protest Hindus in Brampton. What they've done and what they continue to do is they set up outside of Hindu temples on a big loudspeaker and yell all kinds of heinous things in Punjabi, so that the Hindus understand it, essentially tell them to get out of Canada, just letting them know that they are not welcome and that they oppose them. And have said some, from what I've heard, not so nice things, and thus why we saw the attack on the Hindu temple just 2 months ago. And we've had people on the show, we've interviewed people on this show who've been a part of it, who have seen what's been going on the ground over there in Ontario between the group of Khalistan and how they oppose Hindus and Sikhs. And it's been targeted harassment. It's been scary for those on the ground, and the government and authorities do nothing about it because they don't understand it. As our friend Kushal has said on the show multiple times, they view it as brown people just fighting amongst each other, and they just leave it be. So much so that Patrick Brown, his council, passed this type of legislation. Section 5 says, no person shall organize or participate in a nuisance demonstration within 100 meters of the property line of any place of worship. That's what Section 5 says in the bylaws for Brampton. That's what it says. But in 6B, it says, Section 5 does not prevent persons from peacefully protesting against foreign governments at a place of worship, which gives the green light to groups like Khalistan to harass Hindus outside their place of worship. That's what led to the issue that happened 2 months ago, where the big fight happened at the temple. So I imagine this is partially the reason why India is getting very, very involved in our politics here in Canada. We know China, they want to keep the Liberals in power because they're friendly to them. India is upset with what the current Liberal government is doing and how they've been friendly to groups like Khalistan and allowing them to operate as they had a hand bombing Air India, had a hand in multiple high-profile killings. And they continue to voice their displeasure for Hindus or anyone who opposes the Khalistani agenda and wishes death upon them. That is what this group is, and that's who they are. And what India's feeling like, well, it's like, we have people over there in Canada, and we don't want this problem coming back to India. So we're gonna go meet you on your terms, and we're gonna take care of business. That's what I imagine India is doing right now. That's why they're getting involved and get involved in our politics. That's why I see that politics on the ground is happening at the moment. As a Canadian watching all this happen, what needs to happen? Well, I remember getting very loud on this podcast earlier this year when all this foreign interference was coming out, both on the Liberal side and the Conservative side. I was ticked off. I lost my absolute mind. I went on a whole rampage on the show about it. But what needs to happen? We need to get a government that's competent and kicks out all terrorist groups, the IRGC, Hamas sympathizers, Hezbollah sympathizers, and dare I say, Khalistanis who wish death upon citizens in this country. They need to be kicked out. We need to clean that up, get rid of all terrorist sympathizers in the country, and get rid of all the foreign interference in our election processes. Or else we don't have a democracy. Or else we can't say we're a serious Western nation that values democracy if we continue to allow this to happen. We need a government that's tough on crime, that's tough on terrorism, and is a good partner to our Western allies. We need to get tough on this stuff, or else we're not going to have a country. We allow this hatred and discord to continue, what we've been seeing in the streets. We have seen so much violence in the streets, even just over the past 6 months, all for different foreign wars, foreign disputes, or conflicts that go back years and years and years and years, that in some cases predate Canada, that have been brought here and fought on our soil. So until we get someone in Parliament who's got some balls, this will continue to happen. But that's what the path forward to this all is. Clean up the terrorist activities, get rid of the people who want to wish death upon Canadian citizens or any other cultural group of people here, take care of our mess, clean up our election processes, kick out the foreign interference, lock down our elections, and make Canada a place that people have faith in again. Have yourselves a good night. I'm out.